Hello and welcome to what is going to be the last month for this project. We are finishing up with our December photos and memories. This is a project that I have been doing for all of 2022 with my very good friend Julie Carriere, and the way that I've been approaching this project all year is using the actual cut file to create most of my layout. You can see here I've cut out all of these circles and I've given them a treatment to give them a bit of sparkle and a bit of depth as well. I'm going to show you how to do that first because there is drying time involved. I did all of this last night and then left it aside to dry for a little bit, and then I put it underneath my mat and weighted it down with some of my stamp and die bins so that they would flatten out a little bit. So there is drying time involved, and it will depend on what the temperature is like where you are right now. It's quite warm where I am, so you can see that I've creeped into these warmer tones, but not too many in December. It was a bit of a cooler December than what we expected. So this is not a colorway choice that I would normally have on my pages, but we have embraced that all year and made it work for our layouts, and I really love how my album has come together. And because it's December, I wanted to bring in a lot of sparkle and shine, so I've cut my title like I've been doing all year, and I've shown everybody how to do this in my video for April. I'll put a link to that below. And what I've used is sea glass glitter paper, which is a really nice green with silver sort of tone, and I've also cut the overlays for the Christmas tree that I designed with this as well. Now, I haven't adhered these yet. I'm going to put my page layout together, and I want to see if I'm just going to use white cardstock or if I'm going to put them with some white glitter paper behind them as well. But I'm going to wait until I've got everything done before I make that decision. So I'm just going to set all of these aside for now because I want to show you how to get the depth and the treatment that I've done with this. I don't think I've actually demonstrated this technique on camera before. So we'll just put the iPad aside. I'm going to move everything over, and you can see I've got these all stacked up. I've already ordered all of these, so I've written what dates these are so I know what order to put these on when I start constructing my pages. The colour I'm going to show you on is Sundance, so I'm going to show you the dark side and the light side, and what we're going to do before we start doing any of the sparkle is bring in an ink pad and do some blending. Now I'm just coming straight in off the edge. I've started on my all-purpose mat and I'm bringing the colour in because I want to give this a rounded look. So you can see that is bringing quite a lot of depth to that, and you can go in as heavy-handed or as light-handed as you want to do. And I'm leaving an area in the middle free of any ink blending because when you look at a Christmas bauble, you usually see a point of light on it. And it's not always in the center depending on where your light source is, but I'm not worrying too much about that. I'm just adding some depth to give this a bit of roundness. So you can see that's the difference that you get between inking and not inking. Now, when I'm doing the light side, and I tried to be mindful of this, I went in with a little bit of a heavier hand for this one, and you can see some of the ink transfers because it's on the mat. So this one, because it's the light side, I'm going in with a little bit of a lighter hand rather than making it too heavy because I do want a distinction between these two colour tones with our two-sided paper because a lot of the time we use the dark side and then the light side. So once I'm happy with this, I'm going to give it a bit of sparkle and shine. Now I do need to clean this up before I do any other inking with other pieces, of course, because if I brought in Shortbread right now and started inking that up, that Sundance colour would go over top and blend in onto my piece. So I'm just spritzing this with a little bit of water, and then I'm going to clear that off. So to give this some sparkle and shine, I'm going to bring in some platinum Stickles. So what I did was I cut all of my circles on the Cricut. Julie has cut all hers out using the circle thin cuts because they're all sized appropriately for that. My job was a little bit easier. I didn't have to do any winding. I just had to put the mats through and peel them off, and they were all the size that I wanted. And what I'm going to do with this is not apply it directly onto the shape. I'm going to bring in some water and I'm going to paint with it. So I'm just using the water that's on the brush. I'm not adding anything extra, and I'm mixing this up. I'll just move that aside so you can see, so that you get a bit of a loose amount of Stickles, and it mixes with the water, and then I'm just going to paint with it. Now, doing this method, you don't want to add too much water to this, but you can usually bring it back by waiting for it to dry. It will curl a little bit, but then you just stack it underneath something heavy like some stamp pads. Usually I just lay all the shapes out that I've done, put my Versamats on top, and then put something heavy on top of that like a book, or as I said before, my stamp bins or my die bins. They're quite heavy. And that's just enough to give it enough of a shine. And because this isn't concentrated Stickles, it doesn't take quite as long to dry. Now, you can put as much of this on as you like, but as I said, be careful. If you've added too much water, it will make it a bit too wet. And when you add this on, the ink blending that was a little bit pounced from where it picked up from the Versamat before, it doesn't really matter. It sort of disappears underneath this little bit of sparkle. Now I'm just using a paintbrush, just like this sort of tip. You can use any sort of paintbrush you want, really. And then all you have to do once you're finished is put that into water straight away. And I'm just gently brushing that across the bottom of the jar to get rid of the Stickles, and that will clean it. It doesn't stick to the bristles at all. If you're worried, you can run it under some water and make sure that you've got it all out. But this is a brush that I would then designate for this type of purpose. And you can use this with any colour of Stickles as well. So you can see that's brought up a lovely shine to these. It doesn't take very long at all. You can be strategic and you can just do half the bauble or do a crescent type shape, but I've sort of gone nearly over the top of the whole entire thing. And to clean this up, I usually use a baby wipe because there is glue in there, but I'm just using a water-based one, so you could just use water and paper towel. So what I'm going to do now is go away and I'm going to adhere most of this down. You don't need to see me position all this. I'm going to follow this pattern. So I've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with my dates and so on, and then this is day 16. And then day 17 starts here, 18, 19, 20, right through to December 31. Before I put all the baubles onto my layout, I wanted to put my photos and the mats down. Now, I've done a couple of little changes. So to match in with the Seabrook glitter paper, I've used Seabrook as my mat here. And my photos aren't quite 4 by 4 inches. I actually trimmed them down thinking I was going to mat them and keep a small border. But what I've done is they're about 3 7/8. So this border here is a little bit more than what it is in this sketch. And what I did was, before I put this piece down, I trimmed away the inside piece. So I gutted it out and I'm using that piece over on this side. Instead of matting my photos like this, I decided that I wanted to put it off to this right as a big mat. And then I'm going to place my photos like so. So when you're looking at the sketch or the Design Space file, it's okay to change things around to suit. I decided I didn't want to waste that inside piece and that it would work quite well as a smaller square on this side. And then of course I'm going to have my large bauble here. So I just need to work out how that's all going to work with my December title. The other option that you could use for a bauble topper are some die cuts that we have, and Julie has used those. So make sure you head on over to look at her video because she has got some different bauble toppers on hers. I think she's used 3 different kinds. So I'm tossing up whether to use the Cricut cut or to use a gem, or if I might just leave them as they are. And then I'm going to bring in my metallic paint marker and I'm going to draw some lines instead of using thread for them. And in the original sketch, this is a 4 by 6, so that's a portrait. This is a 4 by 4 in the sketch, but there was a lot of dead space up here, so I've trimmed that roughly at 4 by 3 and cropped that down. And this one, instead of being a 6 by 4, I've just trimmed this down because I liked the orientation of this one. And it's not quite a 4 by 6 photo. I just trimmed away. There was a a little rope barricade here, and I didn't want that in there. So that's that bauble there, and then this is from the other side of it when it got dark and all the reflection in the water. And I've got so many photos of these, I could do a whole book just on its own. But I have got my Days of December or December Daily book that I'm working on. So a lot of the photos will go in there. I'm thinking I'll be doing an interactive element. But I might also do a little mini album because the light displays were just absolutely beautiful. So this is basically all ready to go to start putting, and I'm going to bring in my iPad here, and I've got my numbers here, and I'm going to be trimming some of these off the edges. And I know that this is all going to work out quite well, I think. You can see I've got quite a wide variety of colours to use for this. But I'm going to go through, place them, work out where I want to draw the little strings. And it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect when you're placing these. I just want to make sure I don't want to cover anybody's head. So all baubles to me have to have something to hang and then something to fix them off. You do need to give these a shake before you use them. So what I can do is just make sure that my page is all nicely aligned, and I'm only going to show you a couple because I do like to go over top of this so I can really make sure that I'm getting everything all nice and straight. And then I'm going to take this one away a little bit and just draw a line up. And then I'll put that back there for placement. I'm making sure that I go a little bit further than I need to go. And then this one here, I'll take this away. No one's going to know that I've gone down further in my lines at all. So I will keep doing this system all the way across. When I've done a little set, I'm going to stick those down and then I'll move on to the next one. So I'll be back in a moment with all of these lines drawn. I think you can see it on camera and how that will look. I'll bring that up just a little bit closer. And that's going to represent the ornament hangers. As you can see here, most of my page is done. I've got a couple of little things that I want to show you. I'm actually quite loving these colours. Having the treatment with the glitter, and I'm going to hold it up so you can see that a little bit better, just softens it so much more. And you might be able to see another treatment that I've done to it because I couldn't help myself, and I really think it adds a little something to it. And I'm going to show you what I did because I've left some of the baubles free of that treatment. I have way more photos than this to put into my December family album. I did mention that I was doing the Days of December project, so I'll have a lot more stories behind little moments within December in that 6x8 album, but I still wanted to put some of those memories onto my December pages. We went to see A Christmas Carol at the theatre, and there was a pre-performance entertainment, and we were allowed to take photos of that, and this was really enjoyable. And instead of making my own bonbons this year, I actually bought them because I saw these nutcracker ones and just had to have them. And instead of laying them down when my mum and daughter were decorating the table, they stood them up like this, and they looked really cute standing up like that. So there's little moments in this December family album, and I do have a heap of other photos that I'm going to put in as well, and I will do one of the memory protectors pocket pages to put all of that in. I did decide to go with the white glitter behind these Seabrook trees. I think it works really, really well, and that was why I chose the white glitter for the bauble toppers. It was a little bit too much, I think, to put more of the Seabrook on these, and because these are all different colours, it worked really well to have the white. Now, you might notice some little details here that I've done on the baubles and around the pages. So I'm just going to take that page away, and I'm going to put some lines on this mat. Now, I did do it on the Seabrook here and on the white, and I know that this is all stuck down. So when I started doing it, I held my breath a little bit and thought, I'm just going to go for it because I just felt like it needed a little bit of finishing off. I'm not using a ruler. I'm just freehanding this, and I'm okay with that. Where I've got these ones popped up on foam tape, I'm turning my page so I can put the marker sort of underneath that. And if you can see these baubles here, there is a difference between these ones and the ones that I haven't done yet. So I had a little practice on the one that I did on camera to see if this would work. And the metallic paint markers actually draw quite well over the top of the stickles. I'm not pressing down hard at all when I do this because I do not want to damage the tip of this. This is the 0.7mm marker and it's quite a fine tip. So I am just gently applying this. I can feel it going over the bumps, but I'm not digging in at all. So use a very light hand if you're doing this so that you don't damage the tip. And I'm just doing a little circle and then doing an arc around it. They don't have to be perfect. It just creates a little bit more something to these baubles. I don't know what it is. When I did it, I thought I really like how this looks. And the metallic paint markers I think will work better than using the white gel pen, and it sort of ties in the metallic lines here for the strings and also with the elements going around these mats. I did bring in, rather than cut out on the Cricut, I did bring in these very old Stars and Sparklers stars. And I used the silver ones. The gold ones were a bit too strong, but I'm hoping that you can see all the glitter and shine by putting the stickles on here and the glitter paper and the metallic paint markers as well. I think it finishes off this layout quite well, and there's enough white space here for the eye to rest and bring it in to look at the photos. Now, I do want to mention before I go that if you haven't watched Julie's December video as yet, make sure you head on over. There will be a link below and a link at the end of this video, and also that we will be coming back very, very soon, because while we've been working on this, obviously when we started January, it was a left side of a page. So we have a title page and we will have a closing page for the end of the book. So if you've been following along with us all year, or even if you've just discovered this today, I would love it if you came back and had a look at our ideas for the title page and for the end page. It's going to be, I think, very, very cool how we're ending this project. To keep this video a bit shorter today, I'm going to do my pocket pages off camera, and they're going to be a little bit different, but I will show you those in a future video because I don't want to do the full ones here to cover up all this bauble spread that I've got across here. I'm going to do smaller ones. Thank you for watching for all the months from January through December. I will have a playlist below if you've missed any, and all the details about how we've done this with Design Space and all those sorts of things will also be in a link below as well. So if you've been following along with us and you didn't start in January like some people did, but you have decided that you really like this project, you can apply what we have been showing you for this year or a different year as well. I've really enjoyed challenging myself with the color combinations and the layouts that we've been putting together. As always, happy crafting. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.